Hey guys, it's Danny, and today I am going to be doing my April wrap-up. Yes, I did only say April wrap-up and I did not say a May TBR because I've decided to do something a little bit different. I am going to be doing my wrap-ups and TBRs from now on into two videos. Wrap-up video and a TBR video. And the reason why I've decided to do this is because I find that when I'm doing my wrap-ups, I go into detail about what I thought about the books, and then I end up making the video like 17 minutes long every single time, and the TBR takes up like maybe 7 minutes of the video, and then the rest is just me babbling on about my wrap-up. So I thought that it would probably be easier. I know a lot of people do them in two different videos so that they're shorter videos, and you can like decide whether you just want to watch my wrap-up or my TBR or whatever. I just figured it would be easier, it'll be different, and so yes. This is the wrap-up portion for April, and after this I'm going to be filming my TBR, which will be up shortly after this video. Technically, I have read 6 books this month, but I am going to be wrapping up 7 because there is a book I finished on the very last day of March that I didn't get to put in my March wrap-up because I did the March wrap-up TBR early. So, and I mentioned that in that video, so you probably know what book I'm talking about. But yes, I am just going to jump right into my wrap-up now. So the first book is the book that I finished in the very end of March, and that is Perfect Match by Ernest Barrett. I was sent this book for review along with like 3 others from Austin Macaulay Publishing. I have an unboxing for this. I said in my wrap-up that I wasn't sure if I was going to do a single review for this or if I was going to wait until I finished all of the books that they had sent me and then do like a rapid reviews video. I decided shortly after making that video that I'm going to do the rapid reviews idea. So this is the only book that they've sent me that I've read so far, but I'm going to read the other ones very soon. And I do have a review up on Goodreads about this book if you guys are interested, so I will link that down below. This is about a woman who ends up having a baby and then she ends up giving it up for adoption. She meets this guy, marries him, has another baby, and the second son that she has ends up getting leukemia, and so her secret about her other baby that she gave up for adoption ends up having to come out in order to save her other son's life. As I said, I finished this at the end of March, but I didn't get to put it in my wrap-up before for March. So I'm putting it in this one. I gave this 4 stars. I felt like the writing was written like in a very olden style, like it was almost written like a classic would be. And I'm not very good with reading classics, so it's not that I struggled getting through it, but I really found like the writing was harder to get into than it would be if it were like a YA novel. And I think it's because the book was set in the 80s, upwards until the 2000s, I believe. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed it considering, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read after that, I absolutely adored. Okay, and I was sent this book for review from Entangled Teen, and it came as a surprise. The unboxing for this is linked down below. I was super excited to receive it, and I'm so happy that I did because I absolutely loved it, and that is Awakening by Shannon Duffy. I gave this book 5 stars, and I absolutely loved it, so much so that I deemed it #1 book of the year thus far, and that still has not changed. This book follows a girl named Desiree, and it's set in a dystopian world where to sleep you have to be like under this machine thing. And to keep everybody in control, the people who are like the non-compliance to the government end up going to the Terrorscape, which is basically another machine that instead of giving you happy dreams like the other Dreamscape machine, it gives you nightmares. And so with this, Desiree's childhood friend Darian ends up going to this Terrorscape because he's convicted of murdering his parents, and she believes that if the government believes that he did it, then he must be guilty. But then he escapes the Terrorscape somehow and comes to her for help because he needs to be able to sleep, so he wants to use her dreamscape. And a lot of stuff happens, and this book was so good. I loved it. I had a lot of questions while reading it, but all of them got answered, and I do have a full review if you want more of my thoughts on this book, which will be linked over the book or down below. Either one will take you to the review, but I absolutely loved this. Like, seriously, love, 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 love. And I need a sequel, like yesterday. The second book that I read in April was the Novel Bunch's book of the month, and that was Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi. I had so many issues with this book, and I wasn't sure actually if I was going to finish it. Up until like 150 pages in, that's how long it took for me to actually want to read the book. I felt obligated to because it was the Novel Bunch's book of the month, and I wanted to read it so I could contribute like full thoughts on what I thought about it in the group. And we had planned to do a live show, but I don't know if we're actually going to do that now or not. I have a lot of like little notes in here, so I'm gonna read this one. She's given us an info dump with no explanation as to what an either is and why Arya's home lived in a dome. The world hasn't been set up properly. Like, there was a lot of world building issues. It wasn't fully explained until like later in the book and like further on into the series, and I felt like I needed that at the very beginning, but I didn't need a big info dump about it. We got a big info dump, but none of the info gave us like an idea of what the world was, why the world was the way it was, and what the hell an either was, or however you pronounce it, A-E-T-H-E-R. I now know that it's like some sort of big science-y like electrocution thing. I'm not even sure what it is really. I just imagine it as like these black swirls, and that's it. Even though the book definitely does explain it further on. After I hit that first 150 page hump, I actually really enjoyed this book, which propelled me to go pick up the second and third book in the series in April, which was in my book haul that I just did recently, like my previous video. Overall, because of the world building issues I had with this, I gave it 3 stars. At one point I was thinking about giving it 2 and not continuing with the series, but the ending of this one left me wanting more, so I did pick up the second and third one, and we may be seeing those soon. The next book that I finished completed my April TBR Jar Challenge goal, which was to reread a favorite book. So I don't think many people had any surprise with the book that I chose to reread, and that is from the True Love bind-up by Lorraine McDaniel, and that is A Rose for Melinda. It follows a girl named Melinda, and she has a best friend since like kindergarten named Jessie Rose, and then further on into the book she ends up developing leukemia. I actually read this way before Tiffio, so this was like pre-Tiffio's cancer book favorite for me. Literline has this way of writing different books like that. She writes a lot about cancers, different kinds of cancers, and she always does a lot of research so she knows what she's writing. This book is very different from most of her other books because the format of this book is not just chapter 1, me and Jessie, blah 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 blah, or like it's not in first person or anything. It's written in I'm gonna try and see. It's written in letters and emails, and hold on, I'll go to the very beginning of the book because it's really freaking cute. And then like kindergarten classroom lists. So it's written really differently. I think it kind of sounded like Love Rosie. Love Rosie was written all in emails, which I have not read yet, but I do own a copy of it on my Kindle. And there's another book out there that's written like strictly in letters, and like it's been done a lot, but this one has like emails and letters and lists and diary entries and like hospital information sheet stuff. I absolutely love this, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars again. Will read again. Never regretting it. I love it. I need people to read it. After Under the Never Sky, I wanted something short, quick, and easy, and so I decided to read a novella or like an e-story on my Kindle, and I'm just gonna pop in a picture here because this is not in black and white, or this is in black and white and not in color, so it's really hard to see the cover, and it is Helly Hath No Fury by Katie Finn, which is Morgan Matson. This is the e-story to Broken Hearts, Fences, and Other Things to Mend. They have quite the titles. And I wanted to read this book before I went into the second book, which is coming out this month, I believe. And I'm not sure when I'm going to get a copy of that. Hopefully I'll be able to get a copy on my Kindle for as cheap as I got the first book and the second e-story thing. Though this book did give you like a good insight as to how Hallie reacted to what Gemma did to her, which you find out in the first book, so I guess that's not really a spoiler. Though it did show you inside Hallie's head, I did feel like, just like the first book, it was a little immature, like it just felt like it was geared toward a middle school grade reader rather than a young adult reader. And I don't feel like it really added anything to the story unless somebody was like really interested in seeing how Hallie reacted, because of course you don't get to see how Hallie really reacted in the first book because it's more in Gemma's point of view. But yeah, I don't think it really added anything to the story, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go into the second book, because the ending of the first book was a cliffhanger and I want to know what happens in the second book. So I'm gonna have to look past the immature writing style. It's not like the writing style is bad, it's just feels like it's geared toward younger people. Like the characters' choices are very immature. Following that, I thought maybe I should jump back into the series that I started this month, and I actually completed this month. And I have to say that I like both of these books a lot better than the first book. So if you couldn't guess, I am talking about Through the Evernight by Veronica Rossi and Into the Still Blue by Veronica Rossi. A copy of Into the Still Blue decided to take a tumble. I ended up putting it like right here on my bookshelf, and then somehow it decided to crash and burn and fall to the ground, and now like my cover is bent, the edges on the spine are broken. And I'm really upset about it, and like there's a rip back here, like a really big rip back here, and I'm really upset about it because I don't know how it happened. I didn't drop it, it fell off my bookshelf by itself. So in the second book, I think this is probably my favorite book of the series. You got to see a lot of Arya and Roar and how their friendship develops, and Roar is my favorite character other than Perry in this series. So I was really friggin' happy to see a lot of Roar in this book. My mom's out in the living room singing Roar by Katy Perry. I don't really have much else to say. I just know that this was my favorite book in the series. I think it explained the most. The plot went really smoothly and there wasn't anything that I was questioning. It was just a really good installment to it. I gave this one 5 out of 5 stars, which is the only one that got 5 out of 5 stars for me. This series. Out of this series, I think this was the only one that got 5 out of 5 stars. And so talking about the last book, which is Into the Still Blue, which was the last book that I managed to read in April, I had some more issues with this one. I felt like the plot was really not jumpy, but like, I don't know. There was just something about the plot that I wasn't really comfortable with almost. Really hated Sable. Anybody who's read this series probably does hate Sable. I don't even know, just the ending was pretty confusing for me. Like, at one point it was getting hard to really picture what was happening because everything was happening really fast, and like so many actions were like taken and they were just out of the blue, coming out of nowhere, and I was just like, stop, just make everything happy again, please. There's a part in here that I was not prepared for. I wanted a happy ending out of something that I knew was not going to be a happy ending. That also happened for the second book. I kind of wish that something happened in this book that kind of started in the second book that just made everything like really bad. That didn't happen either, and I can understand why Veronica Rossi didn't do it that way, because that would be like making a happily ever after out of something that wouldn't have happened that way. But it would have been nice to have that. Like, it would have been nice, because then it would have been like magic and everything turns out all right in the end, because that's what happens in books. We always get our happily ever after somehow, right? Right. And I gave that one 4 out of 5 stars. So those are all the books that I finished in April. I don't think I'm going to be finishing anything tonight, which is the last day of April. That is it for this video, you guys. If you want to go see my TBR, I will link it down below once it goes up and live and all that. Comment down below what you read in April, if you read any of these along with me, or if you just read them in April, or if you have read any of them, what have you thought about them? Because I'd love to know if I wasn't the only one that had some issues with that series. And I think in the month of May there is going to be a lot of review books that I'm going to be reading. So yes, I'm kind of excited for that. So with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!